Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. And tonight's Raw was from the Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. And tonight's Monday Night Raw, I thought the show was okay. It was a mixed bag show. There was stuff that were bad, some decent stuff that was, pretty good. But the bad stuff, I could say, was, was really bad. Some of the decent stuff I actually liked. But tonight we had the first ever fist fight between AOP and Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, and the Big Show. Yeah. Fist fight. The matchup. The rules of the match. There was no holds barred, no countouts, no disqualifications, no pinfalls, no submissions. The only way they had to win this fist fight was when the referee declares that one team can no longer be able to continue the match. But to me, it was a last man standing match. How they named it a fist fight is pretty stupid, in my opinion. It was just like a last man standing match. But we had that. It was the first ever fist fight, as WWE called it. But let's get on with the Monday Night Raw review. So Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with Randy Orton. Randy Orton came out. He got a huge pop from the crowd, from the Kentucky crowd. And Orton got on the mic, and he ended up saying that he was asked to come out and welcome everyone to Monday Night Raw. He says excitedly it isn't his style. And he ended up saying he would like to invite a specific superstar to come to the ring. And that one guy is AJ Styles. Orton ends up telling Styles to get his ass out to the ring. And, Orton says while, AJ, is out there, he will show everyone why he is the number one favorite for the Royal Rumble match. He said he might as well hit Styles with the RKO. So AJ Styles comes out by himself. He didn't have Gallows or Anderson by his side. And Styles says he's the Rumble favorite, not Randy Orton. So Styles ended up bragging about how last week's, last week's RKO, how he, hit the RKO. And he goes on about how people were saying it was the best RKO ever. Ended up calling it phenomenal. So Styles ended up saying maybe all he needs is that RKO to throw 29 men out of the Rumble, including Randy Orton. And then he ends up saying, oh, maybe I'll throw out, of course, Randy Orton or Brock Lesnar. So Drew McIntyre ends up coming out. And McIntyre says, this also includes him. McIntyre wanted to say that he's had some issues with his recent opponents, but he's looking for bigger and better opponents. He says he's looking at Styles and Orton having a RKO measuring contest. So McIntyre ends up saying his Claymore is bigger than the RKO. So Orton ends up dropping the mic. McIntyre says he also knows who's winning the Rumble, and he wants to prove it tonight. So McIntyre ends up saying to the Kentucky crowd that they have two options. Either for them to watch them talk all night, or him, Styles, and Orton can have a triple threat. So McIntyre heads to the ring. Referee ends up coming in. Now it looks like we had the triple threat match between Drew McIntyre, Orton, and Styles. Originally, it was supposed to be Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, but really glad that they added McIntyre into this. And so then we had the match. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton and AJ Styles. Triple threat match. Really decent match with the three of them. Drew McIntyre, the crowd is behind him. They're setting this up for McIntyre to turn, babyface. And he's had a successful babyface run while he was in the Indies. And we saw, in NXT when he was the NXT champion. And it looks like WWE is planning that, as you can see, because, the crowd is behind McIntyre. So, as the match got underway, McIntyre ends up dropping Styles. Orton ends up nailing McIntyre with a punch. Styles tries to springboard at Orton. Orton knocks Styles off of the top. McIntyre ended up going to the floor. And then Gallows and Anderson came from under the ring. And Gallows ends up checking on Styles at ringside. Carl Anderson gets in the ring, but ends up taking the RKO from Randy Orton. McIntyre ends up run over and ends up hitting Luke Gallows with the Claymore kick. But towards the end of the match, you had McIntyre winning the match by Orton ended up hitting the RKO to Styles. McIntyre delivered the Claymore to Randy Orton, and McIntyre ended up pinning Styles. So Drew McIntyre ended up winning the triple threat match. But overall, very decent match. Really enjoyed this match between the three of them. The wrestling in the match was really decent and good. But decent match from the three of them. So then we had AOP. AOP was shown backstage. Seth Rollins ends up walking in, the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins says he hopes that AOP are as excited about tonight as he is. Because he ended up saying that opportunities like this do not come along often. Seth ended up saying that this will say, if you're not with them, you're against them. So Seth goes on about fate and how no one can stop, them can stop him and AOP. So Seth says this is unstoppable. This is the destiny of Monday Night Raw. And that he sacrificed more than anyone can understand. And to guarantee that the destiny remains intact. So Seth went on and says they will show the world, him and AOP, they will show the world what happens when you don't embrace the vision of the Monday Night Messiah. And that was that. Then we had Ricochet versus Mojo Rawley, squash match. Mojo Rawley in the match. Mojo Rawley's a jobber. Right from when Mojo came out, I'm like, all right, Ricochet's winning this. Ricochet wins 6:30 on Mojo Rawley. There you go. Ricochet ends up winning the match. Squash match. Moving on. We have the Street Profits. Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins. They're once again walking billboards. They hype up the show for tonight. They end up talking about Ricochet. End up talking about the fist fight that we're seeing. They end up saying that they want all the smoke. And then, they say, oh, let's go to Charlotte coming out. Charlotte's going to come out. That was what the Street Profits did tonight. Man, remember when the Street Profits were cool in NXT? And now that they're on Monday Night Raw, they had their matches, but still, they're just using them as walking billboards. And this whole thing was pretty bad. It was fucking terrible. Man, how the Street Profits have fallen from NXT. And it was a little over a year ago when I saw them, compete at Evolve, and they got huge pop from the crowd there. When I was there, it was at an indie show in Brooklyn, and they were over, just like how they were in NXT. Everybody enjoys the Street Profits, but they're on Monday Night Raw. They had their matches, but they're still walking billboards, hyping up the show, and WWE made them do that whole Saturday Night Live Weekend Update parody. But moving on, we had Charlotte Flair versus Sarah Logan. This was a waste of time. This was a waste. Charlotte ended up taking out Sarah Logan. They brawled on the floor like we saw last week. Charlotte locks in the figure 8 on Sarah Logan. Sarah Logan ends up tapping out. There you go. Charlotte ends up winning the match. But this is just WWE trying to get Sarah Logan to get in a little feud, because she was off TV. She was competing on Main Event, which, who the fuck watches Main Event? As long as you go to the Monday Night Raw, live shows, you have to induce watching Main Event, because they shoot Main Event before Monday Night Raw goes live at 8 o'clock. But it was a waste. You all know that Charlotte was going to win. No in hell WWE is going to make Charlotte lose. Then we had Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens was talking to Samoa Joe about the fist fight, which of course was the main event. So we saw Kevin Owens. He was a bit stressed, and we had Big Show come over to him. Big Show ends up telling Kevin Owens to relax, because they've got his big fist on their side. They got the Big Show's fist. I mean, you always see how big, the Big Show's fist is. So Big Show ends up saying that his fist needs to reintroduce itself to Seth Rollins tonight. If you remember last week, Big Show ended up knocking out Seth Rollins, with his fist. But that was that. Then we had Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman came out. They got into the ring. Paul Heyman gets on the mic and the fans were booing the hell out of Lesnar and Paul Heyman. They end up booing the hell out of the both of them, which Paul Heyman couldn't even speak because of how loud the boos were. Looked like Paul, this shocked Paul Heyman, and it didn't go as planned, as for him to, to speak. So Paul Heyman was mocking the Kentucky crowd, and the crowd was just chanting, "You suck," at both Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar exited the ring because the fans were trashing the hell out of the both of them. I mean, they got seriously booed. It was just like how Roman Reigns came out on that Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 33 when he defeated The Undertaker, and he got pretty much destroyed by that crowd when he came out. He didn't even say, like a word because the crowd was booing the hell out of Roman. That kind of reaction, that's what happened tonight with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. So, like I said, it was just the same as when Roman came out on that Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 33. That was the crowd reaction that Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar got tonight, where Paul Heyman couldn't get a word out because the crowd was booing the hell out of them. So the fans were booing a lot more. Brock Lesnar ended up saying something to Paul Heyman on the ramp, and Brock Lesnar looked like, of course, he wasn't happy. So Paul Heyman ends up going to speak. Boos got louder, and then Paul Heyman then announced he ends up going, "My client does not suck." So they end up both going back into the ring. Brock Lesnar gets in the ring, raises the WWE Championship in the air. Fans were continuing to boo him. Brock Lesnar ended up saying something to Paul Heyman. We all couldn't hear it. So Paul Heyman ends up saying, "We're going to start over." So Paul Heyman ends up counting down. 3, 2, 1. Begins his introductions as always. Boos were continuing from the crowd. So Brock Lesnar ends up raising the WWE Championship again after, Paul Heyman's, intro that he always does. Paul Heyman ended up talking about how they announced last week that Brock Lesnar will be entering the Royal Rumble in the number 1 spot, which I said doesn't make sense why the WWE Champion has got to be in the Rumble. I mean, so if he wins the Rumble, who's he going to fight? Now, I said this last week. It doesn't make any sense. So Paul Heyman ended up saying that was not a prediction. It was a spoiler. Paul Heyman went on to say that his spoilers show that there is a new streak in WWE. Not the old streak, but his new streak of spoilers. And he says, which all come to life because they are written by, encouraged by, enabled by, and implemented and executed by his client, Brock Lesnar. So Paul Heyman went on about how Brock Lesnar won't just ease through the Rumble to a win. Paul Heyman says that Brock Lesnar in the Rumble match will conquer and dominate. And he will prove that anyone who doubts Paul Heyman's spoilers wrong. So Paul Heyman ended up going on, says his shtick, and lo and behold, R-Truth the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 champion comes out. And this is where the segment got really funny. And I actually really enjoyed this whole part of the other segment with R-Truth because, R-Truth is funny. Everybody, likes R-Truth. We all don't like that garbage of a title that he carries. But, he's funny. So, R-Truth gets in the ring. Brock Lesnar ends up staring him down. R-Truth is glad that Paul Heyman called him out here because he's about to set it off. R-Truth ended up saying that Brock Lesnar may be the favorite to win the Rumble, but his childhood hero, John Cena, taught him to never give up. And we heard the fans, popping at John Cena's name, which, with R-Truth mentioned Cena's name, maybe, we might get, if John Cena comes back, he could be another one that appears in the Royal Rumble. He could be a surprise entry. If Cena wins the Rumble, maybe we might get Cena versus Lesnar at WrestleMania. That might happen. So, R-Truth then announces, that the 24/7 47 7-Eleven I-95 South and Kentucky European TV champion, which is himself, is officially in the Royal Rumble. And, Paul Heyman was just shown there in the corner. He was like a disgusted look on his face, like, oh, can this guy get out of the ring already? Or like, can this segment end already? That's the face that Paul Heyman, that was the reaction that Paul Heyman had when R-Truth was in the ring. So Brock Lesnar was shown laughing at R-Truth. And R-Truth ended up going on, mentions Paul Heyman's going over the top rope in the match. And I'm like, I was just laughing at that. I'm like, Paul Heyman's not even in the Royal Rumble. He's not even going to be in the Rumble. And so Brock Lesnar's just continuing to laugh at R-Truth. Looked like Brock Lesnar was enjoying what R-Truth was saying. So Paul Heyman then informed R-Truth that he's not in the Rumble. But R-Truth will have to go face to face with, of course, Brock Lesnar. So R-Truth then clarified with Paul Heyman about, Heyman not being in the match. And then R-Truth goes, my bad. R-Truth then said, I officially undeclare my spot in the Royal Rumble now. And that he wasn't listening to Paul Heyman. R-Truth ended up saying that Paul Heyman talks a lot. And that Paul Heyman's mouth has a motor in it. So R-Truth says Paul Heyman just, keeps giving away spoilers. And he doesn't really like spoilers. So R-Truth, isn't in the Rumble. And he says he doesn't want Brock Lesnar taking him to Sioux Falls City. It's supposed to be Suplex City. and Paul Heyman ended up correcting R-Truth. Paul Heyman ended up saying to R-Truth, it's Suplex City. So Paul Heyman then yelled at R-Truth, saying that R-Truth isn't funny and nobody likes him. And we see Brock Lesnar end up stepping closer to R-Truth. R-Truth ends up asking Brock Lesnar, what's up? So then R-Truth then danced, some, and his music ended up coming back on. And R-Truth was still dancing. Lesnar ends up dropping R-Truth. And Lesnar then picks up R-Truth, hits an F5 to R-Truth. Brock Lesnar then grabs the jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 garbage of a title. He laughs. He tosses the title on top of R-Truth. Brock Lesnar gets on the mic, and Brock Lesnar says to R-Truth, "That's what's up." And his music ended up hitting, and him and Paul Heyman went to the back. I'm like, holy shit, Brock Lesnar said something on the mic. When was the last time we heard Brock Lesnar say something on the mic? I can't remember. But it was a funny segment. I enjoyed it. You know, R-Truth, hilarious on the mic. Like I said, even though he carries that shit of a title that we all want fucking retired, and even WWE even mentioned it on their website saying that, oh, we're going to retire the 24/7 title. Now I'm like, retired? You're still featuring it on TV. But it's clickbait. It's fucking clickbait. Who knows when WWE is going to retire this garbage of a belt? So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back, we had the footage of what happened when Brock Lesnar ended up F5 in R-Truth. You know, they had to play that again. And so R-Truth was shown he was being helped up the ramp by referees. And then all of a sudden, Mojo Rawley comes down the ramp. And he yells, and he levels R-Truth, ends up hitting a big shot to R-Truth. Mojo covers R-Truth, and Mojo wins the 24/7 championship. The Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 championship. Mojo stood tall with the title, talks trash about how anyone can come get, you know, the title from him if they want. I'm like, who cares? Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares about this garbage ass title? You know, I hope, like I said, I know it was probably clickbait, but I really do hope WWE retires this fucking belt. I really do. Nobody cares about this shit of a title. So moving on, I did not give a shit. I did not give a shit about Mojo Rawley winning the stupid Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 title. So then moving on, we get this fucking shit. Of course, we gotta see Lana and Bobby Lashley. Oh joy! Oh fucking joy! So we see video that was shot earlier today. It was of Charlie Caruso interviewing Lana and Bobby Lashley. As, you know, both of them arrived to the arena. Lana then complained about what happened at their wedding 2 weeks ago and the ceremony last week. And Lana ended up saying that they had decided on 2 resolutions for this year. She says that her and Lashley have accepted the fact that everyone, including Charlie, is jealous of their love and success. What love and success? The love of getting on the mic and making everybody's ears bleed of your constant, terrible screaming and your constant, terrible, you know, talk on the mic? And what's success? Name me, what's success? And she says, number 2, they are going to crush Rusev. And that was that. Fucking garbage. Absolutely terrible. Can this fucking storyline end already? Now we got Bobby Lashley versus Rusev. That's what this was. It was a fucking snoozer of a match. Did not give a shit about what was happening here. And apparently, maybe Rusev is going to be a free agent now. As I saw on his Twitter, it says he's going to be a free agent soon. Which means that he's not going to end up re-signing with WWE. So there you go. Why would he want to re-sign when he's in this fucking shit storyline that everybody hates and nobody gives a shit about? But this match was fucking boring. It was back and forth between Lashley and Rusev. And towards the end of the match, Lana was distracting the referee. Lashley ends up taking Rusev's knee out. And both Rusev and Lashley were in the middle of the ring. We're down in the middle of the ring. Then we see Liv Morgan come down the ramp. Liv Morgan comes down, and Liv Morgan and Lana stare at each other. Liv ends up daring Lana to hit her. Lana then ends up grabbing a drink from a fan or a plant that WWE planted there in the front row. She grabs a drink, splashes it in Liv Morgan's face. Lana ends up decking Liv Morgan, launches Liv into the barricade. Lana ends up talking trash to Liv Morgan while she was down. And that gave Lashley to take advantage of the match, took advantage of the distraction. And Lashley then hits Rusev with the spear. So there you go. Bobby Lashley wins the match because of that distraction on the outside. So yeah, we gotta see more of this shit. And if you thought this was boring, wait until next week. Wait until fucking next week, where it's gonna be a mixed tag team match, which I'll get to. So, but overall, it was a snooze of a match, Bobby Lashley versus Rusev. And then we had the Viking Raiders. The Viking Raiders came out. They issued another open challenge. I'm like, what is with these open challenges that WWE is giving to the Viking Raiders? I'm like, open challenge, open challenge, open challenge. This proves that WWE has nothing planned for the Viking Raiders on Monday Night Raw's tag team division. This whole tag team division is garbage. What other teams are there for the Viking Raiders to take on? And get this. Erick from the Viking Raiders. Erick takes the mic and says, "New week, same story. Anyone who challenges them gets put down." They have proven their dominance through the entire Raw tag team division. Yeah, they dominated through the entire Raw tag team division. Who else is there for them to take on this whole tag team division? Yeah, who else? Name me another tag team that's on the Monday Night Raw the tag team division. They went through everyone. So Ivar ends up saying tonight they dare any team to try and stop them. So who answered to the challenge, to this open challenge? the Singh brothers. Yes, the Singh brothers. This proves that the Monday Night Raw tag team division is fucking garbage. Because who else is there for, like I said, who else is there for the Viking Raiders to take on? You got to bring the Singh brothers up from 205 Live because they don't have anybody else on this tag team division. Viking Raiders win. Moving on. We went backstage and we saw Rusev and Liv Morgan. Rusev ended up going on to say about how Lana and Bobby Lashley deserve each other. And he will fight them next week. Liv Morgan ends up saying that she doesn't make promises she can't keep. She said she wanted to say, here is a promise. That she is the living embodiment of Lana's karma. And that karma is a bitch. So there we go. Next week, mixed tag team match. Rusev and Liv Morgan versus Lana and Bobby Lashley. Yay, oh joy. Oh joy. Are we all excited to see that? I'm not. Poor Liv Morgan. Poor Liv Morgan. WWE had to put her in this garbage of a storyline. You know, now I wish that WWE did not split up the Riot Squad. You know, Sarah Logan, job into Charlotte Flair. Liv Morgan, reduced to this garbage with Rusev, Bobby Lashley, and Lana. What's WWE gonna do when Ruby Riott comes back? Man, I miss Ruby Riott. Really do. My thoughts, Ruby Riott should just go back down to NXT. What is WWE gonna do on the main roster with her when she returns? What, they're gonna make her job out to woman on the women's division? I fear for Ruby Riott when she returns. And then after that promo from Rusev and Liv Morgan, we had the contract signing for Becky Lynch and Asuka. So Jerry Lawler was in the ring. Lawler ends up bringing out Becky Lynch first. Jerry Lawler ended up asking if Becky wants to say something about her Royal Rumble match with Asuka. She says she doesn't speak. Well, Becky doesn't speak. She just took a seat at the table. And so Asuka came out next. Asuka came out with, of course, Kairi Sane by her side. Asuka gets in the ring, picks up the mic, speaks in Japanese, and sits down. Kairi Sane ended up taunting Becky with the umbrella that she had. Becky ended up grabbing the umbrella from Kairi Sane, and she intimidated Kairi Sane to leave the ring, which Kairi did. So both Becky and Asuka signed the contract. And Becky ended up saying that, may the best woman win. Asuka then spits the green mist in Becky's face. And Becky goes down. Asuka ends up talking trash in Japanese. Asuka and Kairi Sane, they then exited the ring. We hear Becky Lynch screaming out in pain because of the mist. So we had the medics rush out to tend to Becky. And Becky Lynch was on the outside. The medics were still checking on her. And she was, Becky was demanding to have a microphone. She was like, oh, get me a friggin' microphone. Get me a friggin' microphone. So we heard the fans were chanting Becky's name. Becky finally gets the mic. And as the medics were cleaning most of the mist off her face, Becky ended up saying that the awards and the acclaims are just poisoning for someone who likes to fight like her, or poison. So, excuse me, I mispronounced that. So Becky went on and says Asuka is the most dangerous woman she's ever faced. Becky went on to say with threats and says if she has to go down again to Asuka at the Rumble, she's going down swinging. She ends up saying she swears to God she will take Asuka with her. But that was how this contract signing ended. But this was garbage, except for Becky's promo that she cut. Really liked how Becky ended up cutting a promo here. She's ready to go at Asuka at the Rumble. So it may be, a decent match between the both of them. So then we had Sarah Schreiber. Sarah Schreiber was backstage. She was interviewing Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega ended up interrupting Sarah Schreiber. She ends up saying that Sarah Schreiber isn't qualified to speak to her and Andrade. Zelina ends up going on about Rey Mysterio and how they will win once again next week. So Charlie Caruso was backstage with Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio then ran down Andrade, mentions how Andrade tried to take out Humberto Carrillo. And Rey Mysterio says he is all for the idea of a ladder match because it was announced that Rey Mysterio versus Andrade will take place next week on Monday Night Raw. And it's going to be a ladder match. The United States Championship is going to be on the line. And Rey Mysterio says he's not only taking back his title next week, he says more importantly, he's taking it back from Andrade. So that was what Rey Mysterio had to say, but I'm really looking forward to this ladder match next week. I think it's going to be a very enjoyable match between Rey and Andrade. Then we had Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy, their third match together. And this was a good match. This was a decent match between the both of them. Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy, both very entertaining, superstars. The wrestling from both of them here in this match was enjoyable. The crowd was really liking it. They end up clapping for the both of them, towards the middle of the match. The crowd was really enjoying what they were seeing with the both of them. And you had Aleister Black end up hitting the Black Mass to Buddy Murphy, and Aleister Black went for the pin, and the referee kind of botched it there because Aleister Black's, I think, elbow was down. And so Buddy Murphy ended up getting up. And there was a point where Buddy Murphy ended up hitting Murphy's Law. It looked like he was about to win the match. But he had Aleister Black near the ropes. So the referee went for the count. Alistair had his foot on the rope. And the match then continued. And after, Alistair ended up hitting that Black Mass, and the referee kind of botched that count, saying that Alistair's arm was down, and Buddy Murphy ended up getting up. Alistair ended up hitting another black mass to Buddy Murphy. There you go. Alistair Black ended up winning the match. And just Buddy Murphy, was, like in shock. He ends up sitting on the outside. He's just sitting there like a surprise, like look on his face, like, oh, what just happened? So, but overall, it was a good match from Alistair and Buddy Murphy, their third match that they had together. Then we had Erick Rowan versus some jobber. Squash match. Iron Claw from Erick Rowan to the jobber. Erick Rowan wins. Moving on. And Aleister Black was still out there during the Erick Rowan match. Just sitting on the floor like... And then we had the main event. The fist fight between AOP and Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, and the Big Show. The first ever fist fight. And we had the Big Show coming out first. So Big Show came out. He then got attacked by Seth Rollins and AOP. So Seth Rollins and AOP were trying to take down the Big Show. Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe come out with kendo sticks. They end up hitting the kendo shots to Seth Rollins and AOP. And you had a point where this was going all over the place. This was, like I said, like a last man standing match. But stupidly, they had to call it a fist fight. Because in the end, nobody used their fist to knock the one of the stars from the teams out. It just was when all over the arena you had Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. They were by the announcers table. Kevin Owens did a great run up the ramp, up the stage ramp, and he did a spin and took out AOP. And it looked like he was almost going to get Samoa Joe, but thankfully Joe ended up moving out of the way quickly. You had Joe end up hitting a senton. I think it was to either Akam or Razor, and they went through the table because Joe ended up doing senton off the stage. You had AOP end up put in, it was Kevin Owens or Samoa Joe through the announce table, end up breaking the announce table with Joe and Kevin Owens going through it. You had Seth Rollins going on the outside. Buddy Murphy was still sitting out there. And Seth Rollins was telling Buddy Murphy, oh, come help us. Come help, buddy. Then we had Big Show take Seth Rollins, end up throwing Seth Rollins into the ring the hard way. And Big Show delivers a choke slam to Seth Rollins. Big Show was going to the top. AOP ends up coming back in, and they deliver a powerbomb to the Big Show. They end up throwing Big Show into the table. Table ends up breaking. And then Buddy Murphy comes into the ring, and he delivers a low blow to the Big Show. So that was when they end up tossing the Big Show into the table. And then Seth Rollins ended up delivering the curb stomp to the Big Show. And then the referee ended up calling for the bell. So AOP and Seth Rollins win the match. Post-match, you had Seth Rollins. He ends up celebrating, ends up hugging AOP. Seth Rollins ends up staring down Buddy Murphy. Seth Rollins ends up, opening his arms for, embrace. Murphy ends up thinking about it. And Buddy Murphy then hugs Seth Rollins. And Jerry Lawler on commentary ends up saying, the Monday Night Messiah must have a new disciple now. And the new disciple is Buddy Murphy, which I actually really like. I actually really like that Buddy Murphy is now with Seth Rollins and AOP. So Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy, and AOP end up standing tall together. And that is how Monday Night Raw went off the air. But I'm really liking the Seth Rollins, him being the Monday Night Messiah. I think that's it's a thumbs up for me. I'm really liking what they're doing with Seth Rollins. And Buddy Murphy being the new disciple now, along with Seth Rollins and AOP. Very good. Actually really like it. But all in all, the fist fight, it was stupidly that WWE called it a fist fight, even though it was like a last man standing match, but just with these teams. It was decent. It was a decent main event. It was the second week in a row that Big Show main evented Monday Night Raw. But all in all, it was a decent match. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Was an okay show. Was a mixed bag. Some good, some bad. But overall, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, I'll see you all later.